Hey friends, Happy New Year. For me, that means it's time for a new outlook. It's time to live a little bit more intentionally. So I thought today I would take you through kind of at least the beginning of my process doing this and show you what I'm doing to live a little bit more intentionally, to not feel so connected to the items I own and to be okay with letting go. My channel. My name is Jamie. Welcome. It's so nice to have you here. If you're not new, welcome back. I always love seeing you guys, so thank you so much for joining me for today's video. So I want to start by sort of showing you a before of what my living room looked like. It was a little chaotic, I'm not gonna lie. We bought these giant shelving units. Part of them are behind me right now at IKEA, maybe 10 years ago or so, not too long after we moved into our house, because our house is very open. So when we first bought our house, it was like closed sections. There was a wall between the kitchen and the dining room, a wall between the dining room and a bedroom, a wall between the bedroom and the living room, which is behind me. And so when we renovated our house, which we did ourselves, we opened everything up. So our house is currently like this big open space. And once we realized that we weren't really using that space behind me, we decided to put up this wall sort of between the living room and what would become our office so that we can make it more of a usable space. The problem was that that wall started to feel really sort of intrusive and just sort of, it just felt like it was blocking everything off, you know? I don't even know how to describe it really. It just felt huge. I actually had some bins. I'll show you down below. I had bins on these two levels and they were like these bright green and bright turquoise colors. I got them at IKEA when we got the shelving unit. And at first I loved them, but you know, you grow out of things. So I decided it was time for them to go. And in the meantime, we did a lot of changing. So let me take you around for a little tour and you can see what we did. Okay, so let me start by showing you what we did, the changes we made, and then I'll sort of talk to you about my intentions for the coming year. All right, so let's start with the living room. So these two shelving units actually were on the bottom of these two larger units here. We had these two large ones. These are 4x4 blocks. Each of these sets are 4x4. And we had them setting on top of these, so it was like 6x4. Each section over here was 6x4. Down here we had bins full of decorations and craft supplies and things like that, which don't really need to be stored in the living room. So we decided that we wanted to lower this shelf. So we took these out from underneath. First we cleared everything off. Oh my goodness. This table, guys, right here, and that counter, and a little bit of the floor, everything was filled with books and decorative items and plants, and just everything that was in these sections plus some was on my table and my counter. We did this New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. It was a very busy day. So anyway, we took these bookshelves, put them on either side of the TV, and then I just sort of weeded my books. Quick little beside here. So I'm a librarian. Weeding is a nice term for getting rid of books. We do it all the time in the library. I know not a lot of people like to hear that we get rid of books in the library, but we do all the time because they go out of style. They are not full of great information anymore, especially science type things. And sometimes they're just very incorrect or not read. People don't really care about them anymore. And that's okay. Things change, people change. And that's sort of how I feel about my belongings. So I weeded a lot. I weeded out a lot of books and a lot of decor things and even some family mementos. So once we finished putting those where they were going to go, we just decided, we did a lot of talking about where things were going to go, and we talked about all the different places we could put this shelving unit and the different shelves. We talked about getting rid of them altogether, but then we didn't know how to make our office usable if we did that. So we decided to leave them here. I'm going to show you the other side. So this is our kind of makeshift office. My husband's computer is there, but we also have this very large treadmill in here, and that was something I wanted to hide. So we really kind of needed to have these shelves here. But I want to show you guys something, and this is sort of a picture of my dad playing with seaweed on his hair. But anyway, this is one of the things I love best about this shelving unit right now, guys. We did so much getting rid of stuff that this whole bottom shelf here, and on the other side too, it's all empty. There's nothing on those shelves, and I'm so happy about that. So then we put the plants on top, and there's still a lot of empty space, which makes me just so happy. So the great thing about this project was that we took a space that was kind of stressful and chaotic and turned it into a really usable and peaceful area. So I would often look at this shelf behind me and think to myself, what can I get rid of? I could get rid of this and this and this. I never did, but I often thought about it. And then I would look at the bins down there and think how ugly they looked in this shelving unit. So to look at everything now and just look at my books displayed really nicely and the few sort of decor items that I kept, the things that I really loved, to see them all displayed nicely just makes my heart happy, and that's the whole point of doing something like this. So let's talk about how to get rid of things. I know it's really hard to get rid of things sometimes. You just want to hold on to them. They have family memories connected to them. They just, even if you don't love them, they remind you of something having to do with a loved one, or someone gave it to you and you have a really hard time getting rid of it. I decided that my loved ones who have given me gifts would not want me to hold on to it just because they gave it to me. They'd want me to hold on to it because I love it. And if somebody gave me something and I don't love it, I think they'd be okay with me sharing it with somebody who will love it. So going through this process, I did get rid of some things that were gifts that used to belong to my grandparents, things that I had held on to because someone gave them to me, and that's not a thing I want to do anymore. So as I kind of went through my things, I sort of followed the Marie Kondo method. So I took everything out. We took everything out of these shelving units, put everything out on the counters, and we went through everything. My husband went through all of his old college books. I went through all of my more fun books. We went through everything on these shelves, photographs in different frames and collectibles we had gotten at theme parks, and just all these things that we'd accumulated over the years. And we looked at them and we thought, have we used these in the last year, or do we need them? And most of the time the answer was no. So that made it a little bit easier to get rid of some of the things. And the items that we haven't used in the last year but really, really loved, we were okay with holding on to. Another thing I thought about was whether I was using an item to fill up space. So as you can see, these shelving units have a lot of cubbies. And I think there were things I was keeping just to fill the cubbies because I thought it looked strange with open cubbies. I decided I don't care. I don't need to fill up space. It's okay if it's empty. And that was a great lesson, because who wants to own things that you only own to fill up a space in your house? I want my house to be a place I love, and the things in it to be things I love to look at and spend time around. And I don't want to have things that I don't care about just to fill up a space. Another thought we used during this process was to look at something and say, could I easily borrow this? Especially books from the library or from a friend. So I got rid of quite a few books. My husband got rid of a lot of his books too. And a lot of them were books that are readily available at the library. I work in a library, so I can go there every single day and pick out books I want. I don't reread books most of the time because there are so many new ones to check out. So I have some of my favorites and books that I read more than once on the shelves here, and that's it. The last thing I thought about kind of really seriously was, would I want to move these items? If I were forced to move tomorrow, would I want to move these items? And in a lot of cases, the answer was no. And so as we were going through it, I know we're not moving, but in the back of my head, someday we will. And it's my hope in the next few years to sort of get ourselves down to warmer weather in the winter, get away from the cold weather. Whether that happens or not, I'm not sure. I really am hoping so, but who knows? But I'm sort of living my life that way right now, just sort of thinking about the future and the fact that I don't need all of the things I currently have. So the last thing I wanted to chat with you guys about today is sort of my plans for the coming year, how I plan on going into the year with purchasing and sort of maybe changing my mindset about how I buy things. I would say I've been doing better in the last year at maybe not bringing things into my house that aren't really necessary to have in my house. There is one exception, and that is clothes. I buy a lot of clothing items, and definitely my closets and drawers are things I'm going to need to go through in the next year. However, as a rule, I haven't been bringing in a lot of decor things. I haven't been bringing in new books. So I've been really good in the last year, and I want to continue that. So in the next year, I plan on only bringing things into my house that are going to stay for the next 10 years. So there probably won't be many purchases of decor items. There may not be any purchases of decor items. most things I really don't need. I have everything. As you can see, I have everything I need here and more. So that's sort of going to be my year of intentional buying. And I'm going to follow that when it comes to fashion as well. I have everything I could possibly need. There are a few things that I could add to my closet that I probably will throughout the year. But in general, I'm going to be really careful about what I add to my closets because one, maybe I'll save a little bit of money, and two, I don't have the space. We live in an old house. Our house was built in 1905. It was not built with a lot of storage. I do have 2 basements. I'm gonna admit that to you guys right now. We have a basement behind that wall. And when we built our in-law apartment a couple of years ago, we built a basement below that too. So that's my in-law's basement, but we do use some of that storage space. So nobody needs 2 basements, but we don't have a lot of storage space throughout the rest of the house. So that kind of becomes our only storage space. So I do have closets, but they're small. They're not walk-in closets by any means. And I need to make sure that I only have enough clothes to sort of fill up those closets. I don't want to store clothes in the basement. It's just not going to happen. So my idea for the coming year when thinking about purchasing an item is to really look at that item and think, one, where is the place in my house for this? Where will it fit? But two, what will I get rid of in its place? I really don't want to add more items. So if I'm adding something, I want to get rid of something. So it seems like even trade should be easy enough. I'm also planning on going through every room in my house, and I'll bring you guys along for some of that. It may be a little boring, I hope not, but that's my plan, to take you guys along, maybe give you some inspiration. I hope this kind of gave you a little bit of inspiration, but this is going to be my process in the next year, so it's really time. Anyway, my plan for the entire year is to just be more intentional about my purchases, about the things that enter my home. So thank you guys for coming along with me. We'll see what happens with all of this. I am excited to see how much I can donate. We made a huge donation the other day. The back of my husband's car was full of stuff, and it was all our stuff. I have more things to donate today. So I am really excited to just sort of empty our house out, make it more peaceful, clear my head. When I have a clean house, my head is clear as well. And maybe because my kids are mostly moved out at this point, there's not a lot of clutter everywhere. So just in general, I feel a little bit more at peace without the clutter everywhere. And if you have less things, you're gonna have less clutter. So that's definitely a benefit to sort of purging and weeding and getting rid of stuff. All right, guys, thanks for coming along with me today. I will be back soon with another unboxing or fashion related video and some travel videos really soon. So super excited about that. Thanks as always, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.